Well, good evening, everybody. Even though it said good evening, nighty, good evening, and an idy on the end. There's always something.
Something.
Hey, everybody. My name's Paul,
Good evening. This is Bev.
and we are here to teach you how to work with the condition called plantar fasciitis.
We
Yes,
are.
yes, we're going to have a presentation. So, first thing is if you want to download the manual that is for plantar fasciitis, I've put the link in both the YouTube and the Facebook. You can just click on that, it'll take you to it, download it to your computer. We will teach the points after we have our presentation. And we had to do this presentation early with Dr. Julia Anderson, physical therapist. And we're just going to jump right into that, and then we'll come right back and we'll teach you some of the points. So here we go. Well, hello, everybody. This is part of the Plantar Fasciitis Workshop. And we have with us Dr. Julia Anderson, physical therapist. Hello, Julia.
Hi there.
So we're just going to let you get right into talking about it. Let us know a little bit about who you are and where you're from, and take it away.
Thank you, Paul. I want to say, first of all, this is new for me, but it's really an honor to be able to talk and be a part of your BioTouch program. So thank you.
Right on.
I am Julia Anderson. I'm a physical therapist, and I have my doctorate also in natural health. And I've been practicing for, 41 years. I can't even, I look so young for that, I'm sure. But I wanted to say that one of the things that I did as I've been practicing physical therapy is I really love the expanded awareness of healing, like the consciousness of the energy and spirit, and how you can't heal without looking at the whole picture. I mean, you heal, but you heal so much faster and more profoundly by having the bigger picture. So I would say that some of the ideas and some of the things that I'll be talking about might be a little bit outside the realm of your average physical therapist, but I'm proud of that. I would not want to practice any other way. So I look like I'm looking straight up. Oh, up here? Okay, is that little light? Sorry. Okay, so we're going to talk about plantar fasciitis, and I first always like to look at the mechanics. I'm a manual therapist, and I've been practicing for a long time, and I found that there are certain things that are the most helpful when dealing with plantar fasciitis. So we're going to first start by discussing the mechanics. Go ahead and go to the next slide. Okay, so we're going to overview the anatomy because that makes more sense than looking at the mechanics. And then last of all, we're going to just talk about the things that I found to be the most powerful and helpful in the treatment of plantar fasciitis and to getting the quickest results. Next. All right, so when we look at the anatomy, it's always great to review anatomy. I love having posters up in my treatment room because I can show people, and I can also just kind of review. So after 40 years of just looking at anatomy, you kind of get it pretty good, but it's still nice to always have a visual. And what I want you to look at is all the muscles in the back of the foot. And if you were to divide the the leg, there's probably like 4 times the muscles in the back compared to the front. So if you even look at your foot, you can, look at your own leg, you can see there's only really the tibialis anterior balancing a lot of the muscles that are in the back. And this ties in really powerfully when you're looking at what happens with the plantar fascia. So if every muscle and everything in the leg is contained by fascia. So first we want to have a muscle balance, the most optimal muscle balance between the back of the foot and the front. And normally it's like 4-to-1. But with plantar fascia, you'll often see it with like cyclists or horseback riding, where they have a pedal that, or a stirrup they put their foot in, and or you're been standing on a ladder too long, and it stretches from the back of the leg and takes that fascia, which connects through the Achilles tendon, around the heel, and all along the bottom of the foot. So if you're looking at the anatomy, you want to think first muscle balance, and then you want to think about how the fascia is all playing in together and putting excessive stress on the bottom of the foot, but it's all connected from the bottom of the foot all the way through the calf. Yeah, okay. Go to the next one. I wish I could have people asking questions. That's okay. All right, so fascial connections, we were starting to talk about that. And if you look at these little pictures on the top right side, you'll see some examples of how the plantar fascia is connected around. Its main connection is at that bottom of the calcaneus, that point they call a heel spur. And so heel spurs is chronic growth, chronic stress of the plantar fascia that over time makes a bone growth. So this happens everywhere in the body. So if you have chronic stress at the knee or the fingers, so wherever the bone is getting pulled on by the tendon, the bone grows to meet that stress, to address that. And so this is a component really of plantar fasciitis, where over time it can also develop into a pretty gnarly heel spur, which becomes another thing to try and manage also. But if we can address plantar fascia tendonitis and issues like that first, then hopefully the tendonitis or the heel spur won't develop. But think about how that strap of coming down along the whole calf narrows into the Achilles tendon and then goes underneath the heel, along the bottom of the foot, connecting to each of the digits. And there is small muscles within the plantar fascia as well. So anyway, if you put too much pressure, let's say and there's pressure on this band of fascia, it's part of what supports the arch, then that's where you're going to trigger this inflammation, because it's just like constant stress. It's like you being in the splits for a day, and you're going to go, I can't even walk. My legs hurt too bad. So I just wanted to show you how with that one foot, you can see that image of how there's a space underneath that plantar fascia. Just so you know that that's kind of what we're looking at and playing with, and how that will tie into a correct arch and things like that.
So is that there is a space in there then between that bone and that?
Yeah,
fascia?
well, it's filled with tendons, muscle tissue, connective tissue, this thick, fatty kind of tissue too that helps to create the bottom of the foot. So yeah, but it is stuff that gives. So like when you're standing on a ladder, you can see how that might just stretch that area. All right. Yeah, so it's not an open space. So next we look at things that the mechanics. So we kind of looked at the anatomy, so you kind of have a good visual. But if you see on the top left side, the pronation of a foot. I really wanted to give you this example because if you see an arch, so let's say you have an arch, and then your bony structure kind of collapses. Look at how much it goes from this wide to this wide. That's excessive stress along the bottom of the foot as well. And you can see how in the one picture with a severe pronation, you also have extra pull on the Achilles tendon. And pardon me. Oh, I have a sip of water. flat foot. So on the right side of the PowerPoint, it says excessive pronation. And you can see how the arch drops versus on the left side, there's a little lift. So you can see how it would go from this wide. Now you're stretching that whole arch so that you're putting pressure on that whole plantar fascia. And then, so that person's already set up to have some issues. And if they're flat footed. Easier to trigger. That also means that that person's foot is mushy, kind of mushy. It doesn't have as much stability as another foot, a more rigid foot. I mean, you can have problems with too rigid as well, but we're looking for things that tend to trigger, and that would be too much of a flat foot. I love this image here. It's so clean of the foot on the bottom on the left side. That's the bottom on the left side of your screen too, right,
Yeah.
Paul?
Yeah.
Yeah, because it kind of gives us a nice image of how the muscle and the tendons and how it goes around the heel and extends all the way up to the digits. So that's a great image. And if you put too much pressure right on that bottom, then that can, it's like a bowstring. You're just like twanging it. Or, if the arch drops, then you're stretching it that way too. Okay. Let me see if I have other images here. All right, let's go to the next one. The tight calf muscles. You get the feeling I'm banging a drum?
Yeah.
Yes, I am, because this is a lot of times what's just the trigger for it. I have a patient that just came in a week ago, and he was like a new girlfriend who likes horseback riding. So he went horseback riding, and he just obviously probably didn't have a stiff-soled boot. And that's one of the reasons you want a stiff-soled boot with horseback riding, is so that you're not getting that stretch on that plantar fascia. So he didn't have that because he's not really a horseback rider, but he spent a lot of pressure on the ball of his foot. Probably not exactly on the ball of the foot, probably more where it shouldn't be. But anyway, totally triggered his plantar fasciitis issue. So just want you to remember it's both, and that you want to start. And I think our next one should be, we're getting into treatment. This is, you're going to be like a superstar if you just even remember these things for people that you know. I think the hardest thing is just getting people to believe you. What is, it's like, I'm a physical therapist, do what I say. Maybe they might believe me more than just, hey, by the way, you could try this. Nobody likes the night splint. This is the image of the night splint. And I put this up because to me, in healing plantar fasciitis, this is the number one thing to help. And the reason it helps is at night, we have, our feet tend to be down, like a little bit plantar flexed. Plantar flexed is, not at 90 degrees, right? It's just down. And then when you wake up in the morning, this is the single one most accurate indication that someone has plantar fasciitis, is you can't hardly put any weight on your feet, because when you're standing, then it goes to 90 degrees, and 90 degrees isn't the way it's been healing all night. At nighttime, it knits, it repairs, it heals. And then you stand up and it goes, and it's so extremely painful. Some people say they can barely walk to the bathroom. They have to hop, But if you can have the foot at 90 degrees, that's why the image of this night splint, and they're about $15 on Amazon. There's different ones, but the main thing is you have to have your foot at 90 degrees so it heals. And then when you stand up, it doesn't rip out all the repair work that happened that night. So every night it's trying to heal. That's when the repair happens. And then every morning they stand up and they rip it out again. So the night splint, I just saw him yesterday. I saw him a week ago, and I just saw him yesterday. He got his night splint. He'd had 3 nights using the splint. Awkward, but he already has 50% less pain. So if anybody who's had plantar fasciitis, these things can go on for months and months. This is like super important. It just allows the body to heal itself without being super disrupted. It's like having a cut in your arm, and then every morning you crack it open and you wonder why it's not healing. It's just, it has to have time to heal. And so this is a great way to do it. The other is I really love to do the deep tissue work to tolerance. I mean, you can't, make somebody hurt too much, but you definitely want to do some fascial release work, increase the circulation. So you can do things like massage foot and calf. You want to release the muscles in the back of the calf, because remember, those are the ones that are so tight and they pull that fascia on the bottom of the foot. It's like this unhappy dynamic duo. You have to somehow get the calf muscle to release. Passive stretching tends to then irritate the bottom of the foot, because everybody knows about the runner stretch and it's all passive. So the most effective way is actually to do dynamic stretches. And the dynamic stretch is when you're actively contracting and bringing your toes up towards your knees, bringing your whole foot up. It's like the front of your leg. That's the anterior tibialis. And when you're actively contracting the front of the foot, you are passively, and the body's signaling the calf to release. If the calf releases, then it takes the stress off of the bottom of the foot. So deep tissue work to the calf, most people don't have, they'll have tightness in the calf, but they could handle quite a bit of work on the calf. Almost everybody's calf is too tight. And remember, the dynamic stretches are the safest because it's less irritating to the fascia on the bottom of the foot, but you're creating a new muscle balance. So instead of overly strong, huge calf muscles, too tight, and the front of the leg weak, you are strengthening. So you can, I just even have people lift your foot up, hold it isometrically, hold it for 7 seconds, and then relax. And you can do that like 10 times. Hold, and then relax. Because that's going to increase the strength through isometric contraction to the front of the leg, and then those big, gnarly calf muscles will be through a neural loop saying, release, release, relax, and they're happier. So, okay. Just one more thing under massage foot is you can get little balls, like a racket ball or kind of a squishy ball that are, maybe about that big, and you can just roll it around on the bottom of the foot. You can kind of do pressure releases, just kind of increasing the circulation to the bottom of the foot, encouraging it to heal and release those toxins that have been building up down there. And so another trick that everybody seems to really like that has a lot of pain is a bottle of water, those little bottles of water, put it in the freezer, and then take it out and then roll the bottom of your foot over that frozen bottle of water. So it's getting ice massage. That's lovely. It helps with the inflammation process. Orthotics. If someone has a flat foot, they're like swimming upstream to try and heal. So think about good or pair of orthotics. Now I use FootMax orthotics because I've been using them for like 20 years. I love them. They were ahead of all these other orthotics as far as I'm concerned. And I'll tell you why. Big secret. I'm starting to see this actually like on Facebook and different places where other people are getting more knowledge and they're correcting it where it should. So this is an orthotic that is a non-prescription from FootMax. And it's pretty good arch. I mean, you can, like, if I was to show you, it takes a bit to bend it, right? But the key is, so here's, let's see if I can show you. This is the inside. This is it doesn't matter, it's left or right, but this is the inside and has a pretty significant arch. But right here at the heel, it starts to raise up. It's not hollowed out right here. This is where the calcaneus sits. If the calcaneus drops too far in, you're going to just be putting pressure directly on the plantar fascia. So some people, if they get the wrong designed orthotic, it's like it makes it worse because it has to be corrected right here at the posterior edge of the heel. Not very many of them are made correctly. I did see they're getting more aware of this, and hopefully there's going to be more and more correctly made orthotics, but it has to be supported in the medial aspect of the heel. Otherwise, you're just going to be collapsing at the heel and then going over a bump. And that's just going to irritate the poor plantar fascia because it doesn't need that. All right. If people have more questions about orthotics, I'm happy to answer them, but it's so helpful. Okay. Grounding. Sometimes, theoretically, you could say grounding is one of the issues that creates the problem that facilitates the creation of the plantar fascia. So I would also have them do grounding exercises. I don't know if any of you are aware of the grounding mats. I love them. They help with grounding and getting the energy through, even if you're just to do a yoga and you do visualizing and grounding the energy all the way through into the center of the earth. It's got to open up that energy flow.
So is it helpful to just go walk out on the land?
Oh yeah, you guys out in Arizona where it's still warm, but don't get any cactus in your feet. Yeah, up here it's harder. I mean, I actually have a grounding blanket, and it has been so powerful for me because 9 months out of the year it's too cold to go outside and do it. Yeah, no wonder we're all so weird up here. But grounding. So think about the energetics of the area that is the most painful is our chakra and energy grounding connection. All right. Other things that help are dry needling, and that's kind of where we take the needle, like an acupuncture needle, and put it right into where it's in the most seized up. And that's kind of what the doctors would do with a cortisone injection. I hate to do that. I do dry needling, but I hate to treat the bottom of the foot. Even if you go in from the side, it's so painful. And I found that if I'm doing all of these other things, you know, people get better fast and it helps them so much. So I try and avoid, that's why I put it last. I think it's the most painful and maybe not even necessary if you're doing the other things. And so that's why I put the night splint first, night splint. Let the body heal itself and stop ripping out the healing. And last but not least, if needed, at least there is some other options that could help with intervention, but prefer not to.
Wow. Now that was some good information. So you know about BioTouch. So how does something like a BioTouch, touch healing therapies, energetic kind of healing, do you think that's beneficial for these kinds of situations, plantar fasciitis?
Oh, absolutely. Even if you're kind of moving the energy through the meridians, you're moving the opening up the flow. I mean, because again, I have the grounding because in our society, it's unless someone's really trying to be a hippie and get out there and feel nature, a lot of times we're just not getting the grounding we need, you know? So I think the BioTouch and other similar types of things could be so powerful. I really, I believe in the power of touch, and I'm getting emotional now because just thinking about all the therapists out there now that don't even learn any of this. They don't do it. They just say, oh, that person just wants a feel-good treatment. And I'm like, well, aren't we supposed to help them feel good? You know, and it's just so sad when they're not even teaching the PTs this. And I had a new therapist work with me. She was a couple years ago, and then we split ways because we just so different. And she just was taught, you know, there's nothing beyond what she learned in school, and all of it is exercise. I said, you're just a glorified exercise person, you know. I mean, and not that exercise, you know, physiology isn't great. It's just there's so many possibilities of helping, and why wouldn't we want to be able to offer more than just being a glorified exercise person? And so I think that touch is so important.
Right.
Sorry, I don't know if I get emotional, except that this is my soapbox.
Right on, and we're glad you came here to stand on your soapbox. Truly, that you've been totally inspirational, Dr. Julia, and we appreciate the time that you've come to spend with us to share with us about an issue I think a lot of people have, and you gave us this holistic look at it. So,
Sorry, I got so emotional, but I just love that you guys are doing this and that you're saying touch heals, especially touch with intention, touch with love and compassion. So powerful. And you think about the last 2 years, COVID, nobody's touching each other. We're doing all this tele crap, and no one's getting the treatments that they need. It's sad. I mean, not no one. I bet,
I hear you. Sure, huge population.
Yeah.
Well, that's why we're gonna check out here and teach everybody how to do some BioTouch at home with their family and their friends. So thank you very much, Julia.
Thank you.
Woo!
As usual, I learned things.
It was
Wow.
amazing at the end how important she felt touch was
Oh,
in our
I
healing process.
I mean, she's really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So again, if you watch that or if you're doing it, we put up her email address. You're happy to get hold of her personally to if you have the problem. But we know that I mean, she talked about the fascia, and we have that massage therapist Tony out there in the East Coast area who's a massage therapist, and the one thing she's noticed with all her clients is BioTouch, starting with BioTouch, immediately releases the fascia, and she can get in there and really help the body correct a problem.
Oh my God. And how many, we've had quite a few massage therapists tell us that same thing. It's wonderful. Yeah.
So, and when we're talking about muscle, I mean, when you're talking about all that area, I mean, I
Yeah.
mean, when I got my back worked on, it helped the whole body realign itself just with this light touch.
Exactly.
So we're going to now move you in. Again, if you want the workbook while we're talking about it, it's justtouch.com/workbook. And we're going to take you through the 3 sets or so points of how
Yeah.
to work with plantar fasciitis. So this is where I'm going to give it over to Bev here.
Okay. When we always like to, for those of you who are new, welcome. We love having everybody come on board with us in these workshops. If you have gotten the workbook, you'll notice on the very front page is the actual condition with a really wonderful definition and a lot of good information that Paula Taylor always writes for us. So we're really appreciative of that. So we start out with that. And then if you'll go to the second page, page 6, there are 4 bullets, and this is just to introduce you and to remind everybody else, what is BioTouch? So let's just go through these real quick. And first of all, BioTouch is a simple hands-on healing technique. You use the first 2 fingers of your hands. Those are your tools. And you very, very lightly touch on the skin, like we say as a butterfly. And you're holding lightly on specific points in sets that we will, in just a few minutes, be sharing with you. So let's go over these bullets. The first one, it's easy to learn. Children learn it, and they have definitely taken our classes even and become certified practitioners. So it's very easy to learn. These workshops are a great way to start so that we're not overwhelming, but we are an educational foundation. So our job is to teach BioTouch to everyone who wants to learn it. We're here to do that. The next bullet, it's a complement to any healthcare program. Yes, it is. And it's also a holistic system and an integrative system. It we're saying now that everything works with BioTouch. This is a vital, important, unique technique that everyone can do. So it doesn't matter if you're under a doctor's care, if you're on doing other modalities, if you're on a special diet or taking special medication, everything that you're going to do, BioTouch is just going to help and enhance whatever you're doing. And just to let you know, we always encourage everyone, if you're under a doctor's care or anything specific, BioTouch really brings a self-awareness so that you can enter into that relationship with your healthcare practitioner and be on that journey consciously with whatever's going on. So BioTouch is fabulous gift for that. Has no levels of ability. Everyone gets to use BioTouch. This belongs to all of us, and everyone is effective. The very first time that you touch another person with BioTouch, you will be effective for that person. That's an amazing thing to have. Do not have to have any specific ability. You don't have to know the anatomy. You don't have to have any special knowledge. This is just innate in all of us to learn and to practice BioTouch in our lives. The last bullet, it requires no special preparation, belief, or a state of mind. You never have to prepare yourself or a space or do anything, somebody's negativity or whatever. You just have to be present and care about another person, and you will be able to help them with their pain and their stress. So this is a very, very unique technique in so many ways, and we are so honored to be here to share this with you tonight, the beginnings of it. So let's go through the steps. You're now ready to learn a few of the sets that are going to address the condition. The first thing you want to do is wash your hands. This is a technique that requires one person touching another. The definition of BioTouch is one person touching another lightly on the skin. So you're going to be using the first two fingers of each hand. You're going to be touching lightly as a butterfly on the skin. The lighter you touch, it seems the body really listens and responds. So you're going to hold every point in those sets 6 to 8 seconds. And you're ready to go. That's it. Paul, is there anything you wanted to add before we start teaching?
No, I think let's move right into it.
Okay, you'll notice on the next page, the terms used. These are terms of kind of the language of BioTouch. We usually don't go into these are just to help you to identify how to touch during those, when you practice BioTouch. So if you really want to know what those are, take one of our classes. Okay, let's go to the very first thing you will always want to do before you do anything. After you wash your hands, you're going to be offering the greeting. This is always done before you touch any other points on the body. So you're going to begin each session with this. And what it does is it seems to set up a harmony between the associate, the one giving BioTouch, and the recipient, the one receiving. So let's go ahead. Paul's going to click onto the video.
And I think what's important, as I'm showing it here, there's 2 pages to each set. The first page shows a little diagram like you see there, and then there's pictures, and there's words, and those words are going to be part of the video that you're going to see, and each page has a link to that video. So,
thank you.
The greeting is always performed at the beginning of each session. It's the only set that uses one hand and the only set that indicates which hand to use. The greeting is performed with the dominant hand. If you are right-handed, use your right hand. If you are left-handed, use your left hand. The greeting is made by touching at point 1, which is in the fleshy area just below the bottom of the breastbone or sternum. Hold this point for 6 to 8 seconds. Then, with the same 2 fingers, touch point 2 on the back. To find point 2, look for the big bone at the base of the neck. From here, move 1 to 1.5 inches to the left. This is point 2. Hold this point for 6 to 8 seconds. More than one associate may work with a recipient provided that all of the associates perform the greeting. If the associate or the recipient leaves the session, or if someone who hasn't done the greeting touches either the recipient or the associate, the greeting must be reestablished. Then the session may proceed from where it was interrupted.
Okay. So we have now done the greeting. Now we're ready to move on to do a couple of sets that we know will really help to address this condition. So let's go to the next set, and it is the metabolism set. This is it's a powerful set that it helps the body to assimilate and to eliminate in and out, things it needs, things it wants. And it's for what Dr. Anderson was talking about, this is going to be a great set to help the body to work in those areas. So let's go ahead and watch the video.
The metabolism set can be used to help the body assimilate what it needs and eliminate what it doesn't need. The metabolism set has 2 steps. Step 1 involves touching points in matching fire along the large muscles on the front of the neck. Points 1 and 1 are located above the collarbone in the soft indentations on both sides of the notch at the top of the breastbone. Points 2 and 2 are halfway up the neck on the front of the large muscles. Points 3 and 3 are at the top of the neck on the front of the large muscles. The second step involves holding a point on the front of the body and touching points next to the spine on the back. Hold point X on the front of the body is on a line directly between where the nipples would be on a youth and is 1 to 2 inches to the left of the breastbone. Another way to find X is 1/3 of the way up the breastbone from greeting point 1 and 1 to 2 inches to the left of the breastbone. The points on the back are located next to the spine, forming a rectangle around the breakover point. The breakover point is where the bottom of the rib cage joins the spine and can be found by imagining a line directly through the body from greeting point 1. To perform step 2, find hold point X on the front of the body and touch points 1 through 4 on the back. Point 1 is approximately 1 to 2 inches up from the breakover point on the left spine muscle. Point 2 is directly across from point 1 on the right spine muscle. Point 3 is 2 to 3 inches below the breakover point on the right spine muscle. Point 4 is used to address blood sugar problems and is added to the other metabolism points when needed. It is located across from point 3 on the left spine muscle.
Okay.
And I'm showing the second page there. So again, there's all the words
Right.
in case you need to read while you're looking.
Which is not a bad thing. We've provided all of that in this manual. Yeah. Okay, the next set that is going to be very useful is what we call the stress and anxiety. And this is used, all those physical manifestations that happen in the body from emotional or mental stress. This is going to be very useful to address plantar fascia. How do you pronounce it? Plantar fasciitis. Okay. Yes. Boy, I'm learning a lot about that tonight, I'll tell you. So let's go ahead and watch the video for the stress set.
The stress set may be used to address any manifestation of physical, emotional, or mental stress, as well as anxiety and shingles. Hold at X, which is in the fleshy area just below the bottom of the breastbone. It is the same as greeting point 1. Then with the other hand touch points 1 and 2, which are the same points as in the heart set. These points are found by imagining a line running from the notch at the top of the breastbone to a place on the left breast where the nipple would be on a youth. Divide this imaginary line into thirds. Point 1 is at the top of the first third. Point 2 is at the top of the second third. These points may be touched repeatedly, and remember to touch each point for at least 6 to 8 seconds.
Yeah, that's a great set. Easy, very easy to learn, as we said in the beginning. The last, not really a set, but in BioTouch, we are able to do what we call extra work, local work by addressing the extremities, whether it's into the arms and hands or down the legs and into the feet. And of course, this is what we want to do for this condition. So Paul's going to show the video of what that looks like, and then we'll talk a little bit more about that for you.
Right, and it'll show all the different ways we touch through fire,
Right.
sweeps, and then as you can see here on this page, it's going to show us how to work specifically on those ankles and that foot.
But yep.
Enhancements in local work may be performed anywhere extra attention is needed due to disease, pain, infection, rashes, broken bones, cuts, or unusual growths. For example, local work could be performed in an area where there is an unusual growth such as a mole, cyst, or tumor. This area may be touched using any combination of matching fire, through fire, sweeps, and hold points. It can also be addressed by holding on the affected area with one hand and sweeping from the corresponding area of the spine with the other hand. Local work can also be used to address any type of scars. Also, jaw and dental problems may be addressed by applying local work to the face. There is no limit to the different ways an associate may address a local problem. Difficulty in the upper or lower extremities, the arms or the legs, may be addressed by applying local work to the affected area. For example, if a recipient has difficulties in the wrist, the associate may touch the wrist using any combination of matching fire, through fire, sweeps, or hold points. Once again, it is beneficial to address the source of the nerves along the spine that relate to the affected area. In this case, hold 2 fingers of one hand on the big bone area of the neck, and with the other hand touch the wrist. Then proceed with any local work or enhancements. This same idea can be applied to the difficulties in the lower extremities. For example, to address a knee problem, touch the knee in any combination of matching fire, through fire, hold points, or sweeps. To address the source of the nerves along the spine that relate to the lower extremities, touch point T in the triangle on the low back. At the same time, use the first 2 fingers of the other hand to touch the affected area, in this case the knee. Then proceed with any local work or enhancements. Allow yourself to experiment with the different touches you've learned, and you will always touch the right point. Remember, you can't hurt anybody, so when in doubt, just touch.
So just so people, I'm showing that in the picture there, how you're touching on the T and then the problem area, and they're right there on the foot.
Right.
So, so this picture really helps you see how to, even though they just showed the knee, there's the
Yep.
foot and how touching all around the foot, the plantar, the fascia on the bottom of the foot, you can touch through there, do sweeps through there. So
Yeah,
that picture shows it really well
really
when
well.
combined.
Yep.
So
Wow.
that's how easy it is, and all those things that Julia talked about. I mean, releasing toxins. She talked about it was important to release the toxin. I mean, that metabolism set alone is going to help get the stuff out of there.
It will, and help the body. She even talked about, we're under stress and
Yeah.
everything else. So just those 2 sets, 3 sets, the greeting, and then that really it's to be able to have that extra work to do in those local areas is just wonderful.
And what I learned with her too is, though the pain is in the bottom of the foot, how she talked about the calf muscles, the front and the back.
Right.
So
right.
doing those sweeps, coming all the way down the calf, and even front and back, calf and shin,
Wow.
and just doing the whole leg even, because all those muscles seem to have an effect just on that little muscle that's
I
on
know.
the bottom of the
Oh my
foot.
God. Well, we're that old axiom, everything's connected, but it's so true.
Right.
Everything's connected in our bodies. So yeah. Wow.
And so, like, Julia brought tears to her eyes and to ours too. It's about
Yes.
bringing touch and love back into our healing.
Yep.
And we are so grateful, Bev and I, to have this to offer. We have certified practitioners. If there's one you need in your area, go to our website, justtouch.com. See if there's somebody in your area. And if not, contact us and we'll personally hook you up with an instructor or practitioner who will take you through it for you and your family. Whatever you need,
because
we're here.
I was going to say, if you can't find anybody in your area, be that person in your area.
Yeah.
Be that certified practitioner that you can offer to your community this amazing healing technique, this gift.
Yep. Well, Bev, thanks. I think we taught everybody about plantar fasciitis. Again, if you have a problem, contact us, justtouch.com, office at justtouch.com. Next month, we're going to talk about acne And we have a local, Alicia, who has a business here in town, is going to talk to us about it. And we're going to
Nice.
give you some points on how to deal with acne. So
Right.
thank you all. Thank you, Beth. Have a
Thank
good
you, Paul.
evening. All right. Bye, everybody.
Bye, everyone.